If you're like many of us over 40, the quest for pain relief can be as constant as the pain itself. But before you reach for that bottle again, let's explore what's really going on inside your body when you suppress any symptom with common pain relievers like NSAIDs and acetaminophen. Whether you're using pain relievers for a stubborn knee, an aching back, or that all too familiar twinge in your shoulder, I want you to understand how these over-the-counter medications block pain at the source so that you can make a wise decision to use them sparingly. I'll share some powerful alternatives found right in your kitchen that can help manage inflammation and pain naturally. And if you're new here, I'm Dr. Gayla Gorman, a licensed acupuncturist, naturopath, and author of What's Your Kryptonite? On this channel, I'm here to help you reverse the effects of chronic stress so that you can cruise through midlife and beyond symptom-free, so that you can put an end to the chronic pain and the unwanted results like insomnia, fatigue, mood swings, and even weight gain. So let's get started by talking about how pain relievers actually work. So there are lots of pain relief options, and they're all working to suppress a symptom of some sort. So in this particular video, we're primarily focused on pain relievers that are working to relieve muscular, joint, or nerve pain. So NSAIDs, or ibuprofen, block enzymes. Acetaminophen interrupts nerve signals. So if you're going to turn to these over-the-counter medications to relieve pain, just understand that you are interrupting your body's internal process. These enzymes are critical for your digestive system to work properly. You may have heard that long-term use of these pain relievers really messes with your digestive tract, and this is one of the ways that that happens. And if you're interrupting nerve signals, then we know that our body depends on these signals for everything to run properly. So these medications are trying to cherry pick nerves to essentially turn off without interrupting the signals that need to get through. But you can imagine that these medications are affecting nerves, not just the nerves associated with the pain that you're trying to silence or mute. So I hope that just this little bit of information has you started thinking that it might be a good idea to use these pain relievers sparingly. Just know that sparingly means once a month. And when I tell the women that I work with that they should really only be using pain relievers at the maximum once a month, they look at me with kind of a deer in the headlights look, because they know that they're using pain relievers at least once a week, some even every day, even multiple times a day. So if that's you, then you need to really take this video seriously and start applying some of my suggestions here with alternatives. Some of these alternatives can be found in food, and so just changing up your diet a bit is going to go a long way to helping to relieve some of these symptoms and the flares that you're experiencing. So turmeric or curcumin, that can be really helpful to mitigate inflammation. Ginger can also be helpful, especially when you are kind of spiking your body's inflammatory response. Cherries are also a great source of antioxidants, and so using cherries in your diet may be helpful as well. I'll say that I'm not a big fan of cherries, so this isn't going to get me very far. I actually prefer my next suggestion, which is to really limit your consumption of what I refer to as the Fierce Five. So the Fierce Five is dairy, gluten, yeast, sugar, and alcohol. I will just tell you that if you are still consuming these substances, they are creating inflammation in your body and are making problems worse. And I will also say that it can take a little bit of time for them to be detoxed out of your system. So just know that if you're going to give this a try, it's important to give it a little bit of time, at least a week, to see the effects of eliminating these things completely from your diet. And then if you find that you want to reintroduce things from time to time in small quantities, you can probably get away with it. But initially, especially if you are one of these people who have been using pain relievers really regularly, this is the great next step for you to really make some of these adjustments in your diet. When it comes to changing your diet, I know you may be skeptical, thinking, could food sensitivities really lead to chronic pain? But just know that any toxicity creates stress in your body. And this is just an example of one of the countless ways that stress creates symptoms and other health issues, especially during midlife. I created a video that shows you how to eliminate these symptoms naturally, so I'll make sure to link to it below this video. But also make sure you hit subscribe too, because I share a lot of tips when it comes to dealing with stress that's become toxic. Relieving the nasty symptoms stress creates makes cruising through midlife a breeze. So let's just continue here and talk about a few cautions that are essentially long-term side effects of abusing these over-the-counter pain relievers. So, number one, it was really fascinating, but recently there was a study that I came across that talked about how people that used pain relievers chronically had really numbed not just the pain, but also their emotions. And when you are emotionally numb, it can feel like depression. So that's really important to know, that if you're just feeling blah, and like if you're not feeling really enthusiastic about life, just know that it could be the result of long-term over-the-counter medication use. There's also the possibility of nerve damage. I have shared a story in other videos about a Buddhist monk that had used allergy relief medication long term, and it had created nerve damage that he had a devil of a time trying to unravel, and finally figured out that that was what was going on. But just know that these nerves that have been muted repeatedly are being damaged over time, and nerve damage is one of the things that just really makes it difficult to stay mobile as you age. And that's definitely not a slope that we want to head down. I mentioned earlier about digestive issues, and this can actually even escalate to internal bleeding. So if you see any blood in your stool or any signs of internal bleeding, just take that very seriously. You need to have it checked out by a healthcare professional. Could even be an emergency situation. But all of these medications aren't really going to hurt you if you take them occasionally, once a month or less often. I probably take a pain reliever like this maybe twice a year. And so there are situations where it's just called for, if you will. But if you are turning to them regularly, it is creating long-term damage, and you need to really look for alternatives that work for you. And some of these changes that I mentioned here and suggested here would be a great place to start. So, if your best efforts to live a healthy lifestyle and do all the things you've been led to think are supposed to work aren't getting the job done, you may even be feeling like you take 2 steps forward and 3 back. In my next video, I'll show you how to manage the toxic stress that's sabotaging your efforts. You can eliminate the symptoms that seem to be piling up in midlife naturally without medication, crazy diets, intense exercise, or any other unsustainable lifestyle hack.